get around. I'm like, I used to be able to have a road map or an atlas or something and be like, oh man, all right, this street to that street to that. I was like, all right, that's a lesson. And you can always be confident in technology. You shouldn't be dependent. It's all right to use it as an assist, but like not dependent.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm talking to them people. I've been, power outages. I'm like, whoa, that was real good. I can even see some change. I'm like a regular reader. I read, but I read.
I'll make sure they sign it
They're like, yeah,
before we disperse.
science is forcing
Yes.
concentration and concentration.
If I want to use the what?
Imagine,
Actually, here,
like everyday people who
Right. They're like, nah,
actually, I'm gonna send you this one.
go through a book
Okay,
every 2
yeah,
weeks.
thanks.
Just because I'm like, I would do it. I was like on the train.
Are we supposed to be
work,
sitting out
so
there
I had
now?
this dedicated time, but you get away from that when you're not forced to. And now all of a sudden I found myself listening to podcasts on the way to work. You know what I mean? Or I'm on my phone doing emails. And I'm like, man, I used to be plowing through books. What was I stopped dedicating time to reading. Technology took over. And it's like, all right, well, reading is almost for fun instead of like, oh, that's what I do.
it's crazy. You don't realize how these things go hand in hand too. The privatization of everything. Okay, I drive now and I don't take the train anymore, so I don't have that to read. So now, I like you. I'm listening to a podcast. I'm doing something else, and that takes away my time spent with the book. And it just goes hand in hand, like the erosion of attention. It just plays together so well, like a nice orchestra that is just like, it just tells you what okay, it's really good.
She said, what is that playing? That's what's music in the background of the Titanic. That's what's playing. That's the music you hear. But yeah,
Nobody really can shit together.
yeah,
They can't do anything about it.
right. Sounds nice. Ship's going down. Really?
About that all the time.
I don't know. I got a little, I don't know, a little hope because I know I do see, like I said, the passion that young people have for things that interest them.
Exactly.
But you just have to be able to, I don't want to say divert it, but just, make sure that their opportunities are open and that their mind is open to different things so that it's not railroaded in one direction.
People need to start thinking about this stuff, like even school boards, because I've covered Oak Park for several years. Local school district, really high school district, and you imagine how many parents, because you got Oak Park, so you got places going on,
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming out. This is our Broadview Freedom School Town Hall meeting, and we just like to tell you a little bit about this. And so the Freedom Schools began probably in about the 1800s. And the purpose of it was to make sure that people were educated as a way to freedom. We are honored tonight to have Brian Miller here. He is currently with the Chicago Freedom Schools and Defense Fund, and he's going to come up and just talk to us a little bit about the history. Then I'll introduce you to the partners, and we'll talk about how this is going to work out here at Lindop. So will you please give Brian Miller a round of applause? Thank you.
Good afternoon. So Freedom School was originally, the Freedom School that we look at today was founded during the 1964 Mississippi Freedom Summer Project. It was one of the aspects that they were looking for along with the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. And so during that summer, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, NAACP, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, all formed a coalition, which they call COFO, the Coalition of Federated Organizations, and they decided to make a concerted effort to work in the state of Mississippi in 1964 because they felt like Mississippi was the stronghold of racism in this country. And so one of the things that they decided was that they were going to do a voters registration drive and to start the Freedom Schools program. And so that Freedom Schools program focused primarily on, during the day, teaching school-age kids how to read and teaching them their history. And then in the evening, it was voter literacy, so they can learn how to read in order to pass the literacy test to become registered to vote. From there, they moved on to the Children's Defense Fund, which was founded in 1973 by Marion Wright Edelman. And in 1994, Marion Wright Edelman and the Children's Defense Fund created the Black Community Crusade for Children, the BCCC. And one of the things that they decided was to recreate the Freedom Schools program that we know today. And so part of that was to focus on a strong literacy component, which is why this is a summer literacy program. And as we did that, we looked at how can we make teaching kids how they can make a difference. So Freedom School has 6 weeks. And each of those weeks, we want to expand on what the kids are learning. So week 1, I can make a difference in myself. So week 2, I can make a difference in my family. Week 3, I can make a difference in my community. Week 4, I can make a difference in my country. Week 5, I can make a difference in my world with hope, education, and action, which is week 6. So we kind of do all of that, and we kind of build on each aspect. So kids are reading books that are about people who look like them or young people in general, just to kind of figure out how these people are making a difference. And so that's what we typically do during the Freedom School. And so I've been involved since 2007. So I've been a survey leader intern, I've been a site coordinator, I've been a teacher mentor, I've been an assistant site coordinator, I've been an elevator trainer, which is the national trainers for the Children's Defense Fund, and I've been a consultant. So after I finished my 4 years of service as an elevator trainer, I was asked to come back and still lead trainings for a couple years where I served as a consultant. So we kind of do everything in that, and we get a lot of more history. Part of the reason that drew me to Freedom School was learning about the history that I did not learn in school. I actually got to meet civil rights pioneers. Charlie Cobb Jr., who is often credited with creating the Freedom Schools, he came to Freedom School frequently to national training. So I got to hear from him, talk with him, and things like that. So that's part of the reason why I kind of got involved. Anything else?
right, and now to just introduce our Freedom School admin team. So Dr. John Hale is really a consultant with us, and he is helping us tremendously. He's written several books on civil rights, and he has been a leader in that field for quite a long time. Dr. Betts, who is going to be our executive director, Mr. Brian Miller, who you just saw, and then we have our very own Ebony Jones, who is going to be our site coordinator. Will you please stand? Thank you so much. Next, we have Mrs. Blake Brown, who will be a teacher in the Freedom School. Ms. Janine Edwards is a teacher in the Freedom School. We have Mrs. Irvin Bolding as a teacher, and we also have Mrs. Tanksley, Taisha Tanksley, as a teacher. Now, the assistants to the teachers, or the interns? The assistants, okay, so we have Ms. Gladys Evans. She will be an assistant. We have Ms. Kelly. We have Mrs. Madlock. Can you stand, Mrs. Madlock? And we also have Ms. Riley. And so we were very intentional in putting the information out just to make sure that we had people who would make sure that they would knock this out of the box and make Broadview happy and stand out from the rest. And so some of the funding, we were funded through the Illinois State Board of Education. The Freedom School grants were about $359,000. And so we were very, very excited about that and to be able to implement this into LNDOP. I know we talk about the 1900s, but even before then, when Harriet Tubman was freeing slaves, she said, I would have freed more if they had known that they were slaves. And so education is the center and the key of this entire program. So now let's talk a little bit about our partners. And so we have the Village of Broadview, who will help us with all of our marketing and social media to make sure we have that. And Mayor Thompson is working very diligently with us and advocating with us to make sure that the funding remains. We then have the Answer Inc., and we have Dana Bryant here with us for Ms. Deborah Vines, and they are going to be doing some amazing things as well. I'm going to have each partner to also come up and just tell us a little bit about how they will contribute to the overall program. Proviso Township Youth Services, we have Lorenzo, there he is. And we also have none other than our Michael Romaine, founder of the Village Free Press. All right. Village of Broadview, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Jackson, to the Board of Education. It brings me such great honor and pleasure to be standing before you as we talk about the Broadview Freedom School. This is so unique and so important to our community because when we're in classrooms, we're not teaching the curriculum of Black history. This gives us an opportunity to teach the young kids in grades 5th through 8th grade and get them reading. We know that our test scores are not where we want them to be, so the Village of Broadview is taking a proactive approach to be in the classroom with the children, to get them to read, to get them to understand where they come from and where they're going, and to speak on civic engagement, because we don't talk about that process as well. So I'm honored and I'm pleased to be standing here with the Broadview Freedom School. It was an opportunity that came. Michael Romaine brought it to my attention, and we went and brought in a grant writer to secure the funding for it. And so now our next approach is do a really good job now, deliver a good product, and get others to participate, to donate and sponsor the Broadview Freedom School, where we can impact not just the Village of Broadview, but the entire Proviso Township. So we're looking forward to the great work, but it's just not the 4 partners that's involved, it's everybody that's in the audience. I see Mayor Booker from the Village of Maywood. They are on the move in a lot of different initiatives, but we want them to participate in this initiative as well, because we're talking about the lives of young people, not one community. We're talking about 14 communities in the Proviso Township that should be tapping into this opportunity. So let us do a good job, and let's keep moving forward, but let's all work together and collaborate and partner on something that's for all of us. And then when I say all of us, I'm not just talking about the Black culture, I'm talking about the Hispanic culture, the Asian culture, all cultures, because culture is important, and we have to take the lead to articulate that because our children don't know the history. We have an opportunity. The funds are in place for us to deliver a good product. Let's do it, Lindup. Let's do it, Broadview Freedom School. Thank you.
Good evening. I bring you greetings from the Answer Incorporated Autism Awareness and Support Agency, where we are dedicated to providing education, recreation, resources, and workforce development, as well as anti-bullying for families impacted by autism and other developmental differences. We are so excited to be a part of this Freedom School, this groundbreaking, monumentous occasion that is happening in the Proviso Township. We will be introducing an anti-bullying component, which will consist of violence prevention and reduction for families of color impacted by violence as well as bullying. So one of the ways that we are planning to establish freedom is because 1 in 4 students in the middle age school, they are being impacted by bullying in some form, whether it is cyberbullying, physical bullying in some way. And so we want to equip students with strategies and coping mechanisms to counteract those victimizations. Thank you.
All right. On behalf of the township, our vested interest in the success of this program happens to come from the mere fact that this activity is a asset building activity as far as positive youth development is concerned. And so we want to see just how to undergird this whole entire process by gathering data to support the future funding of it as well. And so our participation will be doing activities that also encourage that positive youth development in other ways. So there are 40 approaches to positive youth development. And that 40, those different approaches encourage things to happen inside our young people, as well as things that happen on the outside, which is the community coming together to support. So we're monitoring that the entire process. So we're going to be in those afternoon sessions at least 3 times a week with one of our asset coaches, our mentors, who are community members that underwent training to prepare to be able to cultivate and foster those 40 developmental assets. That's based on over 50 years worth of research, over 1 million kids surveyed. So it's just to undergird it with this positive youth development framework that we hope to implement. As a youth services director, there are 55,000 young people within Proviso Township. And one thing we can say for sure is that a freedom school is needed. And so we need to make it a point to support this effort and to make sure that this is the beginning of a very long legacy of the Broadview Freedom School. So thank you all so much.
How's everybody doing? I got a hat on because I don't have a haircut right now. So, I just want to give a summary of how this whole thing started. When I was at the newspaper nonprofit that I worked for up until recently, I got an email, essentially a press release from the state detailing the availability of some $20 million in funding that the General Assembly, particularly the Illinois Black Caucus, had a big hand in allocating for the creation of freedom schools across the state of Illinois. It was a month before the deadline to apply. And I was like, this is perfect. I wonder if anybody in Proviso Township is taking advantage of this opportunity, because one of the things that you had to do, or had to demonstrate with the grant, was that you would provide civic literacy and media literacy for young people in given areas in Illinois. So I called around. I reached out to superintendents, a few mayors, actually no, some elected officials. I'm like, who's doing this? And nobody knew about it. So one night at a banquet, I ran into Mayor Thompson. And I told her about the idea. She immediately said, give me a text the next day. Text her the next day. And within a week, before a week, we were in a meeting with her grant writers. And I remember her telling me, we're gonna get this money. It's literally what she said. She acted like it too. And when she said that, I believed her because she gets stuff done. And within a few months, we had the money. So yeah, that's a testament to the leadership that you have. But this also wouldn't be possible without servant leadership from other people like Lorenzo. Lorenzo was one of the other people I reached out to get some buy-in to help join a steering committee effectively to try to steer this grant process to where it needed to be. And Lorenzo came on without any hesitation. And he didn't ask about any money. He wanted to know what's the impact. And when you have people like that working in tandem, you have people like the superintendent who, you give it up for your superintendent. Because, again, when I told Dr. Jackson about it, without pause, she said, what do we have to do? And she did whatever we had to do. And and Dr. Betts, they probably lost a few nights' sleep trying to get that grant in, trying to get recommendations from people like Speaker Welch and Senator Lightfoot, who is the main reason we're here today. Because if it weren't for the work of Senator Kimberly Lightfoot in making sure that not only is the state going to require Black history to be taught, but we need to put some funds in making sure that it's taught the right way. So Majority Leader Lightfoot was incredibly instrumental in making all this come together. And after 2 weeks or whatever of us sitting in a room and sitting on Google Meets trying to figure out how we were going to get this money, the school district took over and I stepped out the way. So that's kind of how I worked. But they were gracious enough to call me back into the process when we were just about to stand this program up and get it launched. And so what I will be doing with the students is providing civic and media literacy instruction, writing a curriculum that's detailed and that's tailored to the needs of students in Broadview. And at the end, they're going to create their very own newspaper. So we're really excited about that. We're excited to get it printed and to get it distributed to as many people in the community as possible. And what we, in the beginning, imagined and envisioned for this program was that it would be a pilot for Broadview, but it's not going to stop at Broadview. We wanted to reach every young person in Proviso Township that needs it. That has been my mindset all along. I know it's Mayor Thompson's mindset, and it's the district's mindset, it's Lorenzo's mindset, and Answer Inc.'s mindset. So we want to make sure that 5 years out, 10 years out, this program is still here. It's bigger, it's better, and it's all going toward the education of our young people, because we want to bring Black history. It doesn't have to be in the school. We can do it outside the school, and that's what we're demonstrating now. So I appreciate you all being here, and I'm looking forward to working with these young people.
So Dr. Betts is going to talk a little bit about how the children are selected, but I would like to, first and foremost, I would like to really thank my Board of Education, because if they had not approved the grant application, we would not be in this position now. And so I'd like to individually thank them. We have our board president, Mrs. Cheryl Griffin. We have our board vice president, Mr. Aaron Hanna. We have our board secretary, Mrs. Tanya Taylor. We have our board member, Mr. Brian Dawson. We have board member, Mr. Woody Morris. We have board member Penny Williams-Wolford, who could not make it here this evening, but she is on the way. And we have one special person, Mrs. Jeannie Alexander. Thank you. All right.
So I am Dr. Betts. I'm the curriculum director here at Lindop, and I am so excited for this opportunity. And the hope is, and I guess really the command to our Freedom School staff, is that you bring these methods back to your classrooms in the fall. So themes and literacy and activism, we want that to flow through the school. This is not something that should just live and breathe outside of school hours. It is something that needs to be embedded in our day-to-day curricular mandates in the state of Illinois. And if they're not going to make us do it, we're going to do it for ourselves. So our dates are Monday, June 5th through Friday, July 21st, and we will have holidays in that. So June 19th, we will have no student attendance because of Juneteenth, as well as July 3rd through 7th, because that week typically is not easy to get students to summer school during that particular week of the summer. We have a mock layout of what the day will look like. So at this stage, we're beginning to piece together the schedule for partners and various activities that will take place in the afternoons for our students. And then just a brief overview on how we identified our students. We're piloting this program with 40 students. They are required by the grant to show 10% growth in their literacy development over the course of 6 weeks. This is not an easy task to accomplish, but with the support of Brian Miller, our program director, and all of the knowledge that he brings to the table about Freedom Schools and literacy practices within the Freedom Schools, as well as the support of Ebony Jones, our site coordinator, who knows our students really well and is a member of our community, and our staff, we know that we can do this. And so that is something that we considered when we identified our students. We looked at our students who are just on the verge of approaching proficiency at their grade level. It is our hope that they will, through the methods that we use in the literacy instruction that we put forward, that they'll be able to meet that 10% growth by the end of the 6 weeks, because they're poised to do that, and we know that they can. So there are 4 ways that you could support the Broadview Freedom School right now. We do have, thank you to the Village of Broadview, we have a Facebook page and a Twitter handle. And so if you could please follow us and share it, we would appreciate that. Also, if you would like to participate, we will be asking the community if they want to come and participate in Harambe, which is a gathering that we'll have with chants and read-alouds at the beginning of every single day. So we welcome you to come participate in that. If you would like to read aloud to our students, we welcome that. This is a community initiative. It is not just a Lindop thing. This is all of us together for the good of our children. And another way that you could support us is to help us fund future Freedom Schools, and we will have more information coming about how we're going to do some fundraising and ask for donations in the future. And the final way is to encourage our students to attend. So if they're identified, they're getting a personal phone call from our superintendent, Dr. Jackson, and we are asking them to commit to the summer, that June 5th through July 21st. There will be sponsorship opportunities coming soon, and we also have contact information if that is of interest to anyone. And I will give it back to Dr. Jackson for closing.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Betts. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge, are there any other public officials here tonight? No more? Okay, there's Mr. Kevin McGree, our village clerk. We also have Mayor Booker here as well, and thank you so much. And so if there's anyone else, I don't want to miss anyone. And I think someone said it's Police Week. I'm not sure, but I think we have a lot of police here, and so thank you for everything that you do to keep us safe always. Thank you so much. And does anyone, in Yara Buchanan Park District. All right, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, thank you. Are there any questions about Freedom School? You have all of our information. We'll make sure that we are consistently communicating out to you. Our board meeting is about to begin now. I thank you for coming, and we would like to take a group picture with all of the teachers and partners and the Board of Education. Thank you so much.